They have been watching you, not because you are dangerous, not because you are loud, not because you ever threatened anyone or raised your voice or demanded to be seen. They have been watching you because you survived. And that right there is the one thing the system never prepared for. This video was not made for everyone. It was made for the one who has been carrying something ancient in their chest for years. The one who has felt since childhood like they were dropped into the wrong world. The one who has been broken open, put back together, broken open again, and somehow, inexplicably, is still here. If that is you, do not move. Do not close this. What you are about to hear is what no one has ever said to your face, but what the universe has been trying to whisper to you your entire life. Point 1. You were never meant to make it this far. The world expected you to stop at some point at one of those devastating crossroads that only you know about. The system expected you to fold, to collapse, to become a cautionary tale instead of a living testimony. And yet, here you are. That is not luck. That is not coincidence. Luck runs out. Coincidence has a ceiling. What you carry has neither. Dr. Viktor Frankl, who survived the Nazi death camps and went on to reshape the entire field of psychology, identified something he called the will to meaning, the human soul's irreducible capacity to find purpose even inside suffering that has no rational justification. He did not call survivors lucky, he called them initiated. He saw in the ones who endured not a genetic anomaly, but a spiritual architecture that bends without breaking. You have that architecture. You were built differently, and the system, the controllers, the dark forces, the invisible machinery of diminishment that has always preferred you small, they could see it, they could feel it, and it terrified them. They invested in your downfall. You invested in your elevation. The verdict is already in. The case has been dismissed, and you are still standing. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not too late. You are the thing they were never supposed to create. Point 2. Your sensitivity was never your weakness. It was your weapon. They told you that you were too sensitive, too emotional, too deep, too much. They said it with a smirk, or with pity, or with exhaustion, as if your capacity to feel was a malfunction, a bug in the system, something to be corrected with medication, or distance, or silence. And for a while, maybe for a long while, you believed them. But here is what they never told you. Here is what the research has quietly confirmed while the controllers kept you looking down. A 2018 study published in the journal Brain and Behavior found that highly sensitive individuals, those who process emotional stimuli more deeply than average, show measurably greater activation in the insula and the mirror neuron system, the very regions of the brain associated with empathy, creativity, and somatic intelligence. Your nervous system is not broken. Your nervous system is a precision instrument in a world full of blunt tools. You did not feel more because something was wrong with you. You felt more because you were designed to perceive what others miss. The anointed always feel more. It is not a burden. It is a frequency, and only certain beings are calibrated to receive it. They called it weakness. Heaven called it discernment. The courtroom of the cosmos has already ruled in your favor. Their diagnosis, inadmissible.
Point 3. You transmuted pain into power while they were still celebrating your collapse. There was a moment, and you know exactly which one, when the pain was so complete that you genuinely did not know if you would come out the other side. A betrayal, a loss, a shattering of everything you had trusted, a moment when the ground opened and swallowed the version of you that used to exist. And do you know what you did? You transformed it. Not immediately, not cleanly, not without cost, but you took the rawest, most savage material that life threw at you, and you turned it into wisdom. The psychology of post-traumatic growth, first formally studied by Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun at the University of North Carolina, tells us something extraordinary. A significant portion of people who survive severe trauma do not merely recover, they surpass who they were before. They develop what researchers call a new narrative of the self, a rewritten identity that is not defined by what was done to them, but by who they chose to become in response. That is you. That is exactly you. They handed you fire. You handed them proof. They invested in your destruction. You used the wreckage as building material. The transmutation is complete. The contract they wrote against your flourishing has expired, and the refined version of you that emerged from that fire is untouchable in ways they cannot calculate. Point 4. You refused to become them, and that refusal is sacred. Here is where a gentle observation is necessary, and perhaps the one moment in this message where something almost like a smile is appropriate. Because the system, in its breathtaking arrogance, actually believed that enough pressure would turn you into a copy of itself. It thought, put this one through enough cynicism, enough disappointment, enough betrayal, and they will eventually start behaving the way we do. They will start using people. They will start performing kindness instead of living it. They will learn to see the world as a transaction. And yet, you didn't. You stubborn, magnificent, spiritually sealed human being, you didn't. You still hold doors. You still ask people if they're okay and mean it. You still feel something in your chest when you witness injustice. You still believe in the possibility of something better, even when all available evidence has been arranged against you. That is not naivety. That is an internal locus of control so developed, so deeply rooted, that no external force has been able to commandeer your moral compass. Psychologist Julian Rotter, who first formalized the concept of locus of control in 1954, identified that individuals with a strong internal locus, those who attribute outcomes to their own choices rather than external forces, consistently demonstrate greater psychological resilience, longer health spans, and higher lifetime satisfaction. You kept your center when the entire world tried to pull you off it. That is not weakness. That is the architecture of someone divinely assigned. Point 5. You were isolated so you could be refined. The loneliness was real. Don't let anyone spiritually bypass that for you. The seasons of isolation, the years when your phone stayed quiet, when rooms emptied when you walked in, when you sat in the specific silence of being surrounded by people who simply could not see you, that was real. That hurt deeply. But here is what isolation does to the anointed that it cannot do to the ordinary. It forces an internal conversation that can never be interrupted. It creates the conditions for a depth of self-knowledge that is simply unavailable to those who are never left alone with themselves. The mystic traditions of every major spiritual lineage understood this. In the Abrahamic covenant, the prophets went into the wilderness before they went into their purpose. In the Eastern traditions, the initiated sought the cave before they sought the crowd. In indigenous wisdom systems, the vision quest, the sacred aloneness, was not a punishment, it was a preparation. You were not abandoned, you were quarantined from frequency interference so that you could hear what you were meant to carry. The seal do not require an audience to know their worth, they know it in the silence, and the silence made you formidable.
Point 6. Your bloodline carried something that required you to break the pattern.
Not everyone who is chosen chooses it cleanly. Some are chosen precisely because they come from lines that were broken, families threaded with trauma, with silence, with secrets and suffering that passed hand to hand through the generations like a cursed inheritance. You did not just live your own pain, you carried theirs too. And yet, you were the one who stopped. You were the one who looked at what was handed down and said, "This ends with me." Not in anger, not in judgment, but in the quiet, revolutionary decision to become something none of them had been allowed to become. The science of epigenetics, which has exploded in sophistication in the last 2 decades, has confirmed what the spiritual traditions always knew. Trauma is heritable. Rachel Yehuda's groundbreaking research at Mount Sinai demonstrated that the children and grandchildren of Holocaust survivors carry measurable hormonal and genetic markers of their ancestors' suffering. The wound does not die with the wounded, it travels. But here is the other side of that truth, the side they don't tell you. If trauma can be inherited, so can healing, so can wholeness, so can the frequency of someone who broke a generational covenant and sealed a new one in its place. You are that person. You rewrote the bloodline. The dark forces that fed on your family's suffering found their contract with you null and void. You transmuted the inheritance, and every generation that follows you is freer because you endured. Point 7. Your forgiveness was not weakness, it was cosmic power. They expected you to stay in the wound, the investigators of your spirit, those who monitored your progress and reported back to the machinery of your diminishment. They needed you to stay angry. They needed you to stay in bitterness, because a bitter person is a contained person. A bitter person circles the same territory forever, burning energy, going nowhere, posing no real threat to the architecture of control. And forgiveness, true forgiveness, not the performance of it, but the actual sovereign act of releasing another person from the power they held over your inner world. Forgiveness is one of the most psychologically and spiritually radical things a human being can do. Research published by Fred Luskin at Stanford's Forgiveness Project showed that the act of genuine forgiveness reduces blood pressure, decreases cortisol production, lowers the incidence of anxiety and depression, and, perhaps most significantly, restores the individual's sense of personal agency, emotional sovereignty, the return of your own story to your own hands. You forgave, not for them, for you. Not because what was done was acceptable, because you refused to let their actions permanently occupy your interior world. They thought your mercy was a victory for them. It was a declaration of your freedom. The courtroom of your soul issued a final ruling. Their power over you dismissed. Your sovereignty reinstated. The crowned do not carry the enemy's weight any longer than necessary. You set it down, and you walked forward. Point 8. You asked different questions, and that changed everything. Most people, when life fractures, ask, "Why is this happening to me?" It is a natural question. It is a human question, but it is also a question that, left unanswered, can calcify into victimhood. You learned, slowly, at great cost, through many sleepless nights and shattered certainties, to ask a different question. You learned to ask, "What is this making me capable of?" That question is the fulcrum point. That question is the threshold between someone who is consumed by their story and someone who becomes the author of it. That question is the mark of someone operating with a developed internal locus of control, the psychological signature of those who, even in crisis, locate agency inside themselves rather than waiting for external conditions to rescue them. The system cannot exploit someone who transforms every weapon aimed at them into a tool of their own becoming. That is not how the machinery of control was designed to work. It was designed to produce learned helplessness, the condition identified by Fred Luskin, in which repeated exposure to negative events trains a being to stop trying, even when trying would work. You refused learned helplessness. You kept asking forward-facing questions when everything around you demanded backward-facing grief. That is rare. That is the mark of the initiated. That is why the frequency you now carry cannot be manufactured or replicated by those who never endured what you endured. Point 9. They could not break your belief, and your belief is the architecture of reality. There is a thing that lives inside you. Call it faith, call it knowing, call it a deep cellular certainty that cannot be fully articulated, but also cannot be fully destroyed. A thing that has persisted through every season of doubt, every long night, every moment when all the evidence suggested you should stop believing, and it is still there. That is remarkable. That is, by any psychological measurement, extraordinary, because the system understood that belief is the source code. Whoever controls what a person believes about themselves controls everything downstream: their choices, their relationships, their willingness to attempt, their capacity to receive. The controllers threw everything they had at your belief. They sent people to wound it. They engineered circumstances to disprove it. They whispered through the voices of people you loved that you were not enough, not real, not right, not worthy of the things you were reaching for. And your belief bent. It may have cracked. It may have gone underground for a season, but it did not die. Neuroscience tells us that sustained belief, particularly belief held against evidence, activates the prefrontal cortex in ways that literally reshape neuroarchitecture over time. The brain rewires itself around what it consistently affirms. You were, in the deepest biological sense, building a new mind while the old world crumbled around you. The anointed protect their belief the way soldiers protect their last water supply, because without it, everything fails. With it, nothing is truly final. Your belief survived. That means your destiny survived. The verdict was never in their hands. It was sealed the moment you refused to stop believing in your own becoming.
Point 10. Your body knew the truth before your mind did. There were people you met who seemed fine, whose credentials were impressive, whose words were smooth, whose reputation was intact, and yet something in you contracted. Something in your body said no. Not loudly, not with evidence, just a quiet, persistent closing of something internal. And you were right. That is somatic intelligence. That is the body's wisdom, which predates language and logic by millions of years of evolution, speaking its truth through sensation rather than syntax. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, in his landmark work, The Body Keeps the Score, demonstrated what the spiritual traditions have always taught. The body is not merely a vehicle for the mind, it is an intelligence in its own right. It stores history, it processes meaning, it knows things. And in those who have survived trauma and completed the integration process, who have listened to the body rather than silencing it, the somatic intelligence becomes a refined instrument of discernment that is simply unavailable to those who have never learned to read their own interior signals. You developed that instrument through your suffering. Every time you ignored the contraction and paid a price, you learned. Every time you honored it and were protected, you deepened the trust. You built, through the costly school of experience, an internal compass that no controller can confuse, no dark force can scramble, and no system can override. The initiated read the room from the inside. The untouchable know before they know. And now you trust that knowing in a way you never could before. That is not intuition. That is revelation. That is a gift purchased at a price most people were never asked to pay. Point 11. Solitude became your cathedral, not your exile. There was a before and an after. In the before, solitude was something that happened to you, an absence, a rejection, a sign that something was wrong. In the after the refinement, after the long dark seasons of interior work, solitude became something you returned to by choice, as a resource, as a sanctuary. That shift is alchemical. The psychology of introversion and deep processing, pioneered in part by Elaine Aron and later expanded by Susan Cain, tells us that those who require substantial solitude to recharge and reflect are not deficient versions of extroverts. They are differently designed. They access depth in thought, in feeling, in perception that is genuinely unavailable to those who require constant external stimulation to feel alive. But beyond psychology, the spiritual traditions identify something even more specific. The ones who are assigned to carry a particular frequency into the world are almost always, at some point, drawn into a period of sacred aloneness, not as punishment, but as preparation for the weight of what they are being asked to carry. You found your cathedral in the quiet. You learned the difference between loneliness, which is the pain of unwanted aloneness, and solitude, which is the power of chosen presence with yourself. That distinction matters enormously. It is the difference between someone who is imprisoned and someone who holds the key. You hold the key, and you have been building something extraordinary in that cathedral, something the noise could never have produced. Point 12. The people who left were part of the preparation, not the punishment. Every departure stings. Some of them, the ones you trusted most, the ones you never imagined could go, those stings became wounds that took years to close, and the system wanted you to interpret those departures as confirmation of a deeper unworthiness, as evidence that the problem was you, as proof that you were at some fundamental level unlovable or unbearable or too much to stay beside. But here is what the departures were actually doing. They were clearing the field. Not because the people who left were villains. Most of them were simply not assigned to the season you were entering. The divine economy does not waste a departure. Every departure created a vacancy. Every vacancy created space, and space, genuine, unoccupied, interior, and relational space, is the prerequisite for the arrival of everything that is actually meant for you. Attachment theory, first formalized by John Bowlby and later expanded by researchers like Mary Ainsworth, tells us that our deepest relational wounds are also, paradoxically, the location of our greatest relational growth, if we do the work. Those who examine rather than simply survive their attachment wounds develop what is called earned secure attachment, a relational security that was not given in childhood but was forged laboriously and consciously in adulthood. It is, by every measurement, as powerful as the security that arrives naturally, and it belongs entirely to the person who built it. You built it. Through the losses, through the departures, through the excruciating process of grieving connections that mattered, and then, slowly, against your own resistance, opening again anyway. The field has been cleared. The covenant is ready. What is coming into your life now is sealed with the signature of everything you have survived. It is coming because you are ready, not because the timing was convenient, because you earned the capacity to hold it. Point 13. Your presence is itself a disruption to the system. You walk into a room and something shifts, not always obviously, not always in ways that are immediately visible, but something in the frequency of the space adjusts. People become more honest, or more defensive, or more still. The performance drops, the masks slip slightly. Something in your presence demands authenticity in a world that runs on performance. That is not your imagination. That is not arrogance to name it. That is the measurable reality of a highly developed human presence. Research on charisma and interpersonal influence, including work by John Antonakis at the University of Lausanne, confirms that individuals with deep emotional coherence, those whose internal state aligns with their external expression, exert a disproportionate influence on social environments, not through manipulation, not through force, simply through the coherence of their presence. The energy field is real. The influence is real, and it operates independently of whether the person is trying to exert it. You are coherent. Years of interior work, of bringing the inside and outside into alignment, of refusing to perform a version of yourself that did not match your actual experience, that work produced a human being whose very presence carries a frequency the system does not know how to process. Controllers need incoherence. They need the gap between what people say and what they feel. That gap is where manipulation enters. When the gap is closed, when a human being becomes genuinely, irrevocably coherent, there is no entry point. You have become, in the most literal sense of the word, untouchable.
Point 14. Everything you lost was replaced by something that cannot be taken. This is the point that the system cannot stand to hear aloud, because the logic of the controllers depends entirely on loss being final. They needed your losses to remain losses. They needed the things that were taken to stay gone. The years, the opportunities, the relationships, the versions of yourself that did not survive the fire. They needed you to look at those empty places and conclude, I am permanently diminished. I cannot recover. The mathematics do not operate in my favor. But the mathematics of the divine economy do not operate on linear terms. Post-traumatic growth researchers have documented something they call benefit finding, the measurable, replicable phenomenon in which survivors of significant trauma identify genuine gains that they would not have accessed had the trauma not occurred. Deeper relationships, clarified priorities, expanded compassion, a relationship to one's own strength that can only be built in the kiln of genuine adversity. These are not consolations, these are acquisitions, real ones, permanent ones. And spiritually, the covenant language is even clearer. What is sealed cannot be unsealed. What has been divinely deposited into you through the process of your refinement cannot be repossessed by any force that originally intended your diminishment. The crowning that happens through suffering has a different kind of permanence than the crowning that happens through ease. It has been tested, it has been proven, it cannot be revoked. You did not just survive your losses, you converted them. The alchemy is complete. And what you carry now, the wisdom, the discernment, the emotional sovereignty, the unshakable knowing, it was purchased at the exact cost that was required. Nothing has been lost that was truly yours, and everything that was truly yours has been returned with interest. Point 15. The system is not afraid of your anger, it is terrified of your peace. This right here is the thing they never wanted you to know. They can handle your anger. They are designed for it. They know what to do with a human being who is loud and reactive and visibly wounded. They can contain that. They can label it, medicate it, marginalize it, redirect it. Anger in a broken person is manageable. Anger in someone who has not yet found their ground is actually useful to them. It keeps you moving, but never arriving. But peace in someone who has been through what you have been through. Peace that was not given, not inherited, not the result of a comfortable life, but peace that was constructed, brick by brick, in the dark, over years of interior labor. That peace is the one thing they cannot calculate. Because that peace carries authority. That peace is not passive. That peace moves through a room and rearranges things. That peace can hold the suffering of others without being consumed by it, because it is rooted in something no external event has been able to reach. That peace in the specific human being who has earned it through the exact kind of fire you have walked through is one of the most powerful forces on the planet. Research in the field of heart coherence, particularly the work coming out of the HeartMath Institute, demonstrates that a regulated, coherent heart field radiates measurably outward, influencing the physiological states of others in proximity. Your inner calm is not merely internal. It transmits. It calms nervous systems. It creates the conditions for truth-telling. It dismantles the architecture of control wherever it enters. You becoming peaceful is an act of revolution. You becoming still is an act of power. You arriving in your fullness, without apology, without performance, without the frantic energy of someone still trying to prove themselves, that is the thing the system was never supposed to allow. It allowed it anyway, because it could not stop you. Point 16. You were never asking for too much. You were asking from the wrong sources. The longing in you was always real. The desire for depth, for genuine recognition, for love that did not require you to shrink, for work that felt like more than labor, for connection that was not transactional. That longing was not a sign of being difficult. It was a sign of knowing what you were made for. The tragedy was not that your longings were too large. The tragedy was that you kept presenting them to sources that did not have the capacity to meet them. You kept asking questions of places that had no answers. You kept looking for acknowledgement from systems and people and institutions that were constitutionally incapable of giving you what you were looking for, not because you were wrong to look, but because you were looking entirely the wrong direction. Abraham Maslow, whose hierarchy of needs has been one of the most discussed frameworks in all of psychology, argued in his later work that the highest form of human motivation is not self-actualization, it is transcendence, the move beyond the self, the desire to be connected to something larger. He believed that a small percentage of people are genuinely oriented at this level of motivation, and that no ordinary social structure, no conventional institution, no standard issue human relationship can fully meet the longing that lives at that altitude. You were asking transcendence-level questions of ordinary-level sources. That is not a character flaw. That is a calibration problem. Now you are learning to source what you need from the level at which it actually exists, from the divine, from the covenant, from the relationships that have been refined enough to hold the weight of what you carry, from the work that is actually aligned with why you are here. The anointed are never asking for too much. They are learning to ask from the right place. Point 17. What comes next was always the point, and you have never been more ready. The acceleration you feel, that sense of things beginning to move, of years of interior labor beginning to yield their harvest, of something that has been quietly building for longer than you can fully account for, beginning to emerge, that is not your imagination. That is timing. The divine does not operate on your preferred schedule, and there are moments in the long arc of a chosen one's journey when this is genuinely infuriating. You prepared, you held on, you did the work when no one was watching and no reward was visible. You maintained the covenant when everything was silent, and now the silence is shifting. Research on what psychologists call incubation, the period of apparently dormant processing that precedes sudden creative and personal breakthroughs, demonstrates what the spiritually aware have always intuited. The quiet seasons are not empty, they are generative. The solution is assembling underground. The harvest is forming in the dark.
The breakthrough arrives not because conditions finally became favorable, but because the preparation finally became sufficient. You are sufficient. Not perfect, not finished, but sufficient. You have been made ready in the exact ways that the assignment required, and the assignment is no longer waiting. What comes next is not a reward for surviving. It is the reason you survived. It is the thing that was always the point, the contribution only you can make in this body, at this frequency, with the specific wisdom that this specific fire produced. The system is terrified because it can feel what is coming. It can feel you moving. It cannot stop what has been sealed. Go.
Hear this, because what you are about to receive is not a summary, it is a declaration. You were broken open, but you were not broken. You were isolated, but you were not abandoned. You were betrayed by people, but you were not betrayed by the covenant that sealed your purpose. You were delayed, but you were never denied. You were underestimated by every force that examined you from the outside, and every single one of them assessed you incorrectly. You are anointed. You are initiated. You are the living result of a divine process that no human system designed or could have predicted. Your sensitivity is your somatic intelligence. Your solitude was your cathedral. Your losses were your curriculum. Your forgiveness was your liberation. Your peace, that impossible, hard-won, refined in fire peace, is your most dangerous quality. You did not survive to merely survive. You survived to arrive. The frequency you carry has been calibrated by exactly what you endured. The wisdom you hold cannot be learned in classrooms or purchased in courses or abbreviated for people who have not paid what you paid. It is yours. It is sealed. It is untouchable. The system is terrified of your presence because your presence proves that their mathematics were wrong, that the weapons they deployed against you did not function as intended, that the chosen are not selected for easy paths, but for necessary ones, and that the ones who walk those paths all the way to the other side come out carrying something the world has not seen enough of and desperately, urgently needs. That something is you, not the performance of you, not the version of you that survived by shrinking, the full, crowned, post-traumatic growth, emotionally sovereign, spiritually sealed, cosmically contracted version of you that is standing on the other side of everything they threw. You made it. You are here, and you have never been more dangerous to the forces that preferred you broken. If this message found you, if something in your chest recognized what was said here today, if something in you leaned forward and said, "Yes, that is me, that is what I have been carrying," then do not let this be the last time you hear from this space. Subscribe to Echoes of Destiny. Tap that bell, because what is coming next was designed for exactly the person you are, and you need to be present when it arrives. If this video moved something in you, press like, not for the channel's sake, as an act of your own acknowledgement, as a moment of saying, "Yes, I see this truth and I receive it." And in the comments, leave one word, just one word for what you transmuted. What did suffering produce in you that could not have existed without it? One word, yours. Let this become the space where the chosen ones recognize each other. And if you know someone who has been carrying something heavy, who has survived something others do not fully know about, share this with them, quietly, without pressure. Just let them know that someone made something for them specifically. The frequency of the anointed spreads not through noise, but through resonance. You are the resonance. Go carry it.